right, it's Dr. Eli time. Call us right now. He's in the house, 276-2118. Don't be afraid to call. Call with your relationship questions. He's here. Family questions, any kind of questions, concerns, what have you. Welcome, Dr. Eli.
Good to see you guys.
This could turn into a Sue Johansson episode because a lot of the issues you have today relate to sexual intimacy.
Right. You know, number one reason people come in to see a therapist is because something is wrong in their intimate life. When we talk about intimacy, we just don't mean sex.
Right.
We mean emotional and physical connection. But a lot of times, couples are operating on myths or faulty information, which kind of gets them out of sync. So we got today top 5 type of intimacy myths in committed relationships.
I think a lot of these myths come from movies or TV or things that they say, oh, that's how it's supposed to be.
One of which is sex should always be spontaneous, which we all know is absolutely impossible.
Right, number one. And it's great when it is. Don't get me wrong. When you have a spontaneous, intimate encounter, it's great. But in long-term relationships, when you have kids, when you're balancing work, other stressors, it takes connection. And I mean blocking out time for the couple. I mean putting the couple first. Sending texts during the day, working on some task, and intimacy is the product of spending time together. So this idea that it doesn't have to be so planned, saying we have sex, pencil it in, 10 o'clock after Gossip Girl on WBKI on Monday nights. You don't have to do that. But it should be the product of after protected time and shared experience building up to that, especially in long-term relationships.
And listen, if you're watching Gossip Girl, that's foreplay right there.
You also hope that sex doesn't die in marriage, but a lot of people believe, unfortunately, that it does.
All the research says that that's not true. Actually, married people have better sex, more frequency, and bigger connection. And actually, single people, lots of single people want
exactly.
a person, this idea that we can have more freedom over our schedule when we're single, but lots of people, they want one person to be monogamous with, to be in a committed relationship with. Another myth is that, once you get to a certain age, if, sex in your 60s and beyond, it's not important anymore. We know that's not true, too.
Absolutely not.
All the research says that even though drive might go down, frequency might go down, the quality of the connection, the importance of the sexual relationship is just as important as you age in any kind of maturing relationship.
Which leads us to the next myth, which is that Viagra is the answer, and it's not always the most important part of the relationship.
No, Viagra, it used to be that people would think it was a threat to end kind of couples therapy that a lot of licensed marriage and family therapists like me do, but it's not true. Viagra can help men with arousal.
Yes.
It says nothing about desire, and it says nothing about what's going on also with the female. So if you're angry, if you're a female and you're angry at your spouse, I don't think you can take all the Viagra in the world and it's not going to make your sexual relationship better.
Yeah.
So Viagra has done a great job for those men especially that have problems with arousal, but it has surely not been a cure-all, and it has not ended the practice of couples therapy, that's for sure.
Well, and as women are wont to say, it's the cuddling, it's the time together, it's the talking, it's the intimate feeling, as opposed to the actual act of sex that makes the difference.
Stereotypically, men get their intimacy through the act of sex, through intercourse. And women, though, as we've said earlier, they need all these other things. They need the connection. They need the talking, the sharing before. And men find out when they give that, they get more of what they've actually wanted in return. So really, people aren't from different planets, as they say. It's not true.
Not men are from Mars, women are from Venus. We're all from Earth.
True.
That's true.
Last one is that fantasy is always bad. The top myth. It's not true. Sex starts in the brain, ladies. It does.
Absolutely.
So this idea of thinking about your partner, about other things, or ways to spice that up, it's not a bad thing. Now, sometimes all fantasies don't have to be acted on, but the idea of having them, not a bad thing at all. So we want to encourage that, especially, being able to talk to your partner about the sexual relationship is just as important as communication in any other part of the relationship.
Okay, so combining all 5 of these together, I know a couple where she pretends to be his secretary and she calls and makes an appointment for them to have some intimate time together, which is very nice.
Sure, like I said.
And it really makes a huge difference. So you're combining a little organization and a little bit of the fantasy there too.
Right. And again, like when it's spontaneous, it's great. But more than not, it takes planning. It takes prioritizing that couple time, just like you prioritize activities for your kids, for your work. Do the same thing with the relationship. It all starts and stems from there.
I know another couple that likes to go out to bars and wear wigs and dress up, and they pretend like they're meeting for the first time, which is fun. I mean, that's just a great way to bring some spice back into the relationship.
Whatever works for you.
And they've been married for years.
That's right.
Yes, and there's the show Sex and the City, one of my favorites. And Samantha, she's like vacuuming in a room, and he comes in and he's a robber. I probably wouldn't recommend that at all, but I'm just saying they're always trying to spice things up.
Sure.
He's a spy, she's helping him, all those kinds of things. I think there's a safe word would be good.
Yeah, and like I tell people, as long as it does no harm, it doesn't have to float my boat in my own personal relationship. As long as it does no harm and it's consensual, it's transparent, both people are on the same page, more power to you.
Hey, let's talk about Sherry in St. Matthews. She sent us a note that says, my husband is under a lot of stress with work and taking care of his elder parents. How many of us are in that situation right now? We're in our mid-40s and in good physical health, but our sex life is taking a real hit lately. I think my husband has trouble talking about it. He wants to see a doctor. I think therapy is the best option. How do I get him to go?
Great.
Well, maybe you should do both.
Yeah, Sherry, first thing, a doctor medical rule out, especially if you're having any kind of sexual problem. You know, I prefer the term sexual enhancement. You'll see a lot of people are pathology focused.
Yes.
MFTs, marriage and family therapists, are going to focus on health, so sexual enhancement. But if you have any physical concern, go and see a doctor. Get that checked out, get ruled out. But normally, when you have stressors like work, like taking care of parents, you know, it would be simple if you could distill it down to one factor, but it's usually not. It's a combination of biological factors, kind of social stressors, and internal stressors. So therapy would be a great place like that. And I think if you frame it like that to your husband, Sherry, so that it's not threatening and that these are some skills you can have to talk about the relationship in general, these other stressors, in addition to the sexual relationship, I think you can get him on board.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not a bad idea to see a doctor, a medical doctor, before you pursue some type of
rule
therapy.
out all of those reasons why that can't happen and then figure out what's going on emotionally.
Remember, you want to go to a licensed marriage and family therapist, LMFT, that's going to treat you in the context and will also be able to deal with intimacy, both physical and emotional, in the relationship.
Absolutely.
Yes. And Dr. Eli, you not only work with intimacy problems, Lord have mercy, but you provide individual, couple, and family therapy, like you were just saying. You can find more information at 749-8825 or elikaram.com.
That's right.
There's the website right there, and there are also a lot of folks who are available to help you if you call this number with all kinds of counseling issues. Contact Dr. Eli for more information, and he's got a lot of great stuff on his website, questions and answers and links and information.
Send me a confidential email and we'll answer it on future installment of the show. Monday mornings.
Thanks for being with us, Dr. Eli.
See you guys soon.
Appreciate it. Kentucky in a Living coming up next. Mr. Caswell has the set ready for hat making.